June 6, 1944. Before the beaches filled with smoke, before history chose its winners, two machines were already fighting a silent war in the sky. One was born from raw power, brutal, compact, unforgiving. The other from desperation, elegant, underestimated, almost obsolete. They were not just aircraft, they were philosophies. Two engines carrying the pride, fear, and ambition of nations tearing the world apart. The Focke-Wulf Fw, the predator that shocked the Allies, and the P-51 Mustang, the fighter that learned how to win too late, and then changed everything. This is not a story about speed alone. It is a story about engineers racing against time, pilots trusting metal more than fate, and machines that decided who would come home and who would never land again. This is the World War II Battle of Engines, and the war they fought before the war was decided. June 6, 1944. High above a fractured Europe, the sky had become a factory floor for death. Not loud like artillery, not chaotic like infantry combat, but precise, measured, engineered. This was a war fought in horsepower, cooling systems, fuel mixtures, and milliseconds of advantage. And nowhere was that war clearer than in the clash between two aircraft born on opposite sides of desperation. The Focke-Wulf Fw did not arrive quietly. When it first appeared over the channel, British pilots were stunned. Their Spitfires, once kings of the air, suddenly felt slow, fragile, outmatched. The reason wasn't magic. It was engineering philosophy. The Fw was built like a fist. Short wings, wide landing gear, a brutal radial engine sitting at its nose like a clenched jaw. The BMW 801 engine was its heart, an air-cooled monster designed for punishment. No delicate liquid cooling lines to puncture. No fragile systems exposed to a single bullet. You could shoot an Fw and it would keep flying, leaking oil, coughing smoke, but still hunting. German engineers believed in survivability through strength. They believed pilots should fight, not nurse machines. And for a time, they were right. Fw pilots climbed faster, rolled quicker, dove harder. They attacked Allied formations like wolves, striking once, then vanishing. British reports called it unfair. Pilots called it terrifying. But across the Atlantic, another aircraft was quietly being misunderstood. The P-51 Mustang was never meant to be legendary. It was rushed, underfunded, originally powered by an engine that left it gasping above 15,000 feet. Early Mustangs were fast, but irrelevant. They couldn't escort bombers deep into Germany. They couldn't fight where the war was being decided. And so, they were nearly forgotten. But war has a way of punishing arrogance and rewarding adaptation. In Britain, engineers made a decision that would alter the balance of the entire conflict. They replaced the Mustang's engine with the Rolls-Royce Merlin. That decision was not dramatic. No speeches, no medals, just calculations, late nights, and the quiet understanding that the wrong choice would cost thousands of lives. The Merlin transformed the Mustang. Suddenly, altitude was no longer a weakness. The engine breathed deeply where others choked. Its supercharger fed it power above 30,000 feet, where bombers lived and died. While Germany relied on brute force, the Allies leaned into efficiency. The Merlin wasn't tougher, it was smarter. Better fuel mixture control, superior high-altitude performance, an engine that rewarded finesse instead of aggression. Two philosophies were now racing toward collision. The Fw was built to dominate the fight in front of it. The P-51 was built to endure the journey. And in war, endurance often decides everything. By 1943, American bombers were bleeding. Deep raids into Germany meant hours in hostile airspace. Fighters without range turned back. Bombers flew on alone. German pilots waited patiently. They attacked methodically, and the skies filled with burning aluminum. Then the Mustangs arrived, and stayed. For the first time, bombers were not abandoned. The P-51 didn't just escort them to the edge of danger. It followed them all the way to the target, and all the way home. Fw-190 pilots noticed immediately. The sky was no longer theirs by default. Every climb was contested. Every dive followed. Dogfights became longer, crueler. Not quick ambushes, but tests of stamina and nerve. The Fw-190 still hit harder. Its cannons tore aircraft apart in seconds. At low altitude, it was deadly. But the Mustang chose when to fight. It conserved fuel, maintained altitude, and waited. The war between engines became a war of attrition. German industry strained under bombing. Fuel shortages crippled training. Replacement engines arrived late, or not at all. Meanwhile, Allied factories refined relentlessly. Better alloys, improved tolerances, more reliable Merlins rolling off assembly lines faster than Germany could replace losses. Pilots felt it. Fw-190 aces spoke of power without time. Mustang pilots spoke of time without fear. By late 1944, the balance had shifted irreversibly. The Fw-190 remained dangerous, but isolated. The Mustang dominated not because it was invincible, but because it was always there. Every mission, every escort, every mile. And that constancy broke the Luftwaffe more surely than any single battle. The final irony is this. The Fw-190 was the better fighter when it arrived. The Mustang was the better system when it mattered. One was engineered to win fights. The other was engineered to win wars. When Germany surrendered, wrecked Fw-190s littered airfields across Europe. Powerful machines starved of fuel, parts, and pilots. Mustangs, scarred but operational, flew victory patrols over a silent continent. The engineers would never meet. The pilots rarely survived long enough to reflect, but their machines told the story clearly. Wars are not won by brilliance alone. They are won by adaptability, logistics, and machines that forgive human error. The battle of engines was never about speed. It was about who could keep flying when the war refused to end. And in that quiet truth lies the lesson history often forgets. The sky does not belong to the strongest. It belongs to the ones who can endure. War remembers its victories, but never its mercy. Sometimes, defiance is the last act of humanity left to a soldier.